All right, everybody, welcome back here to another edition of the Patterson Report. I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. And not that we don't do these on Thursdays anyway, but this afternoon, I felt like right around noon. I think I texted Ryan. I was like, "Yo, we got to do this today, right? We got.
Mhm.
We're
I mean,
pretty
we had
much.
to. Howie's working his magic again. We,
Uh-huh.
we we missed last week because I took a spontaneous trip. That's on me. I'm
No, it's
glad we're
all
not
good.
doing it tomorrow. I'm going to the Creed concert,
Nice, nice. Can you
so
take me higher?
I'm gonna be elevating.
But yeah, it was a perfect day, perfect time for Howard to drop some news. Because you figure at this time in the off season, the trades that really really get you excited have kind of come and gone. A lot of these are depth moves at this point. So to see a guy like Jahan Dotson move, especially in division, was about the spiciest news you could really get at this time in the preseason. Now, before we get into where he slots out on the team, although I think we already know, I understand that Dotson was a guy with a ton of promise who so far has been a good, not great receiver in the NFL. That doesn't mean we can't be absolutely stoked that he's our third wideout right now. I'm not excited because he's a star. I'm excited because he is far more talented than that position requires, and I think he is going to feast knowing that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are going to get so much attention, and he's a guy who can break open some big plays when left alone.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his college tape; it was all there. It was a first round pick, middle of the first round. I believe it was 16th. I might be wrong. I've been 17th. My memory might confuse me, but you look at the tape there, and it's all there. He showed amazing flashes in his rookie season. His PFF grade, it was in the 70s. That's outstanding for a rookie. And then Eric Bieniemy came to town, and it all just went haywire from there. Obviously, Bieniemy is at UCLA right now,
Yeah.
but you know Dotson was fighting for a spot in the team, which didn't sit right with me. I, I
No, especially not with a rookie receiver. I would think you would want as many weapons on the field as possible to give Daniels options. So, and I think I'm with you. I think he is way too talented to be fighting for a roster spot.
yeah, I mean, it's fantastic because now Dotson can play on the outside and Devontae
Yeah.
Smith could take the slot. If we had Paris Campbell starting, really wasn't going to be like that. Paris Campbell works a lot from the slot, so I like this move a ton. And he's only under contract for the next 2 years, and it's a
Yeah.
combined 4 mil. So like it's super affordable for a third wide receiver. And you know, there's always something special about the Penn State guys coming to the Eagles, and it's just it was a cherry on top because this move was great. I don't know if you saw the Howie Math tweet. Have you seen that
No.
one? So we traded a fourth round pick for that third from Miami, so Miami can move up and draft a player. I believe it was Jalen Wright,
Mhm.
and so it was a fourth and 2/7 for a fifth and Jahan Dotson. That's Howie math. It wasn't the third; it was the fourth.
Nope. Oh, it was reported widely as the third.
It is the third, but it was we
Yeah.
acquired the third through a fourth. It was an extra third.
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
why it's Howie math.
Yeah,
So
it
technically
was
you turned
kind
the
of
fourth into the third that turned it into Jahan Dotson, and
yeah. The third was kind of a gravy pick anyway. We had already acquired an extra third, so to be able to move that and 2 sevens to get Dotson in the fifth makes all the sense in the world. Also, from looking at the way training camp has gone, as much as it was a cool story kind of early on, Johnny Wilson kind of faded and just, I shouldn't say faded, he regressed to the mean. He regressed to where we expected he was going to be rather than being, I mean, he was talked about as a favorite for that third wide receiver spot early in camp. John Ross had some flashes, but again, he was playing against twos and threes. So nobody really stole the job. And I mean, Paris Campbell, I guess, was the closest guy to maybe take that third wide receiver spot, but I think Dotson's in a different league than anything we had available at the moment.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers for Dotson, they're not promising. But what did Washington have at quarterback? Who was his best quarterback in his time there? Taylor Heineke,
He
Carson Wentz, maybe.
was, um,
It's one of those two. I'm pretty sure. I'm. I'm like 99% sure one of those two guys was his best quarterback throwing the football.
I'm gonna look it up. Let's see.
And you know, people have looked at this trade a varying different amount of ways because Washington's depth chart isn't all that loaded. I believe Olamide Zaccheaus is the next guy up. He was a guy in Philly that was rotated in that couldn't get the job done for what we needed him for. So I don't know what's going on with that. Luke McCaffrey, obviously, related to Christian McCaffrey. He was a day 2 pick by the Commanders. It's like I want as many weapons surrounding my rookie quarterback, like you said. And they do have Terry McLaurin. He's super solid. And then they drafted a couple of guys. They had Jahan Dotson there for a couple of years. And it just doesn't.
This is only his 3rd year in the league.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But, I mean, it doesn't make sense from a talent perspective. But when you heard the reports about Dotson potentially being a cut candidate and not starting, like just a few days ago.
Crazy.
It is crazy. And, there's so many different ways to look at this. Like, you could look at this through whatever lens you want to, and it'll make sense. It feels like it's one of those weird things where it's like, he wasn't going to make Washington. Why he's going to make Philly? Washington wasn't that great. Philly's way better. There's so many.
Yeah. I just think there's the upside on this is so high. And I get that a third draft capital wise isn't nothing. I mean, you get some impact guys in the 3rd. Howie's typically love to address needs in the 3rd. So it's not nothing draft capital wise, but you had exactly. It was an extra 3rd. You had an immediate need to fill, and it's a 2-year deal. 2-year deal. Combined $4 million for a former 1st-round pick who had a good first season. He's coming off one bad year with an OC who kind of got ran out of the league once he was kind of left to stand on his own. So I think this year, with the amount of weapons around him, with Kellen Moore's system, he'll never be as open as he is this year. I mean, our defenses have to contend with Barkley out of the backfield, Goddard, and then A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So he's going to be seeing 3rd cornerbacks pretty much routinely. He should be able to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. He was seeing number 2s in Washington when Terry McLaurin was on the field, obviously. And, he wasn't having the best time with him, but he wasn't having the worst. It was kind of middle of the road, but he's going to get so many more opportunities to get open now.
Yeah, I mean, and look, he wasn't a complete bum last year. It wasn't a great season, but I mean, you're looking at the guy who's over 500 yards. I don't need him to do more than that here. That's all I need on my 3rd. We're going to have 2 guys who are almost guaranteed 1,000-yard seasons. Dallas Goedert's going to be. He needs to be if he's our 4th leading wide receiver, that's all I expect at him. Mm-hmm. I don't expect him to be an 800 to 1,000-yard receiver. There's not enough ball to go around.
Yeah, I'm just happy that we don't have to play Devonta exclusively on the outside like we would with Paris Campbell. I like that. Yeah. Sure, we could bring Paris Campbell in, from time to time when Dotson needs a little break, and then, move Devonta outside, get a little mixture. But it's just, man, this is the end of August. I was waking up this morning. I'm like, okay, we're going to do our show. We're going to talk Eagles. We're going to talk, the end of training camp, and Howie's like, here you go.
I got one more in me. One
more move. Sure, we're going to talk about another offseason move later in the show, a trade that probably is not going to work out.
Yeah.
But, you see the vision.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and look, it's actually an interesting concept. I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. After this move today, in my mind, this season is now on the 53 guys everybody who is standing on the grass or the turf or whatever is now completely in control of this season. If this team succeeds, everybody gets credit. If this team crashes and burns, I'm not looking at Howie Roseman. I think he's given the people who are in control of this team on a day-to-day on the field more than enough to get to where we're supposed to be. So I think at this point in the season, in August, in my head, Howie Roseman's job well done. He put us in position to succeed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Maybe a little more from the linebacking core, but we know how that is. I'm not even going to bring it up. We're not going to get into that
And
spiel
that would
here
and
for
that would
another
be a
hour.
perfect offseason, which there's no such thing. Like no team is without weakness, but to address the amount of weaknesses that he did as quickly as he did, as effectively as he did, if this season goes sideways, I'm not going to be one of the people going, I can't believe how he built this shit team. I
Oh
just don't
no,
think he
no, this is all on Sirianni's shoulders. Like
did. Yeah.
this season's going to tell us all we need to know about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuse to fail. We've given you similarly to the Phillies. I think. I mean, Dave made a couple of moves at the deadline where I thought he could have pushed his chips in further, but I think they're both in that same mindset where I have given you more than enough to win. If you can't get it done, it's use your error at this point.
I mean, the way he structures all those contracts, the way he's bringing literally everybody in, it's just like it is a job well done. And you know, maybe it falls. It's gonna fall on the coach. Like that's the bottom line. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
Because
and this year it should.
well, I don't know what Nick Sirianni is. I've wrote about this a couple of times. I've thought about it. I've talked about it. You have to be like one of three things to be a good NFL head coach, at least a decent one. You need to be a big strategist, or you need to be. Well, it's actually two things, or like a motivator. So like
he has to be a motivator.
He has to be a motivator, and he lost that last year. He lost the locker room. Like,
yeah, and I think what happened last year was that he lost control of his own team. I mean, when everything was hitting the fan, and look, Rob Thompson's walking this line across the parking lot at the moment. When shit's hitting the fan, everything has to stop somewhere, and it never completely stopped with Nick. Like, I mean, Brian Johnson was allowed to continue doing whatever he was doing. You make that hasty change halfway through with the defensive coordinator, which made everything worse. Like, when you're looking to somebody to stop the bleeding, he not only didn't stop the bleeding, he made it worse in a lot of cases. So and he's not a strategist. I mean, by all accounts, when he did try to run his own offense, things got even worse. So he's a manager more than anything, I guess. He's kind of like the CEO down there, just kind of overseeing things. But
look, when it's going right, he's a fantastic coach because he's leading those guys. But when it all crumbles to bits like it did last year, it worries me.
Yeah, because there's nobody there to stop the bleeding.
I mean, now maybe there is with Vic Fangio. I don't think he's going to tolerate any of that.
No,
I think he will have some words for Nick Sirianni if that path tends to go down. We start walking the path a little bit. I think Vic Fangio will be like, "Hey, dude, what are we doing?"
Yeah,
maybe Kellen Moore as well. I don't know how it all happened in Dallas, but like, who knows?
I think
how they handle it over there.
I think Kellen Moore came here for an audition. I think there's no way Kellen Moore can lose because look, this team is insanely talented. He should, by all accounts, come out of this year with the number one offense in football. And if we have number one offense in football, this team is going to go to the NFC Championship game. So if you're Kellen Moore, you're either come out of this with a sterling reputation to go get another head coaching gig, or if you're sitting behind a guy where if things hit the fan, his seat's already warm and you're the next guy in line. I mean, there is no lose here for Kellen Moore.
I don't think he's the next guy in line.
You don't think?
I think the potential next guy in line if this season doesn't go how he wanted to is currently out of the league right now, enjoying his life.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, it's Bill. I think the Eagles and the Cowboys are going to have a fight for Bill Belichick if both teams go down the disaster path.
I don't know. I think I'm hitching my my wagon to Kellen Moore. Only because I'm not saying Bill Belichick's not a great coach. But what I am saying is, there's a sample size of Kellen Moore succeeding in several different environments, and to Bill's, it's always a discredit to Bill because of how great he and Tom were together for so long. But his non-Tom Brady years are ugly.
Yeah. So would everyone's though.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Everyone's, honestly. I mean,
Yeah, but he's the GM of that team. You got to put a lot of what's happened since Tom on
look,
Bill.
I've had this conversation many times with
Mhm.
my friends everywhere. You got to distinguish Bill the coach from Bill
Mhm.
the GM.
Yeah,
Bill
but
the
I
GM
mean,
is not great. Bill the
no,
coach is fantastic.
probably, yeah, I think so. Um,
We'll talk about this if we have to. Midway through the season, we'll have a panic button episode on like a random Wednesday, and we'll be like, "Oh,
yeah,
why should we hire Ben Johnson or Kellen Moore or Bill Belichick?" and just hammer the red button.
yeah. I hope we don't get to that. But one of the things, I think the offense is safe. I feel great about our offense going in. And interestingly enough, so I don't feel great about our defense. We'll get to that as a macro issue. I think if we're a top 15 defense in football, that's good enough for how good our offense is going to be. But oddly enough, for the first time in a long time as an Eagle fan, I feel really good about our secondary.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's an unusual feeling, but I'm looking around and yeah, I mean, look, we're counting on a lot of youth. Ringo is going to be a serious player this year. By all accounts, Quinyon Mitchell is probably going to be your nickel to open the season as true rookie, which is great. But from what I've been seeing in camp, dude, all these guys can hang. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the clips of Mitch. It seems like Mitchell and Brown find each other so often, and that is just going to be such like an iron sharpens iron moment for him. The trash talking's great. He's won a couple of battles, but it's a young DB room that I feel really good about.
Yeah, it just feels like an absolute whirlwind. Shout out Howie Roseman. You were saying he was working his magic this offseason. He totally changed this DB room around. I know there were pieces in place before then, like Keely Ringo, who he brought in last year, Reed
Isaiah
Blankenship
Rodgers.
as well. Sidney Brown, I don't know if that's going to work out, but
I hope so.
we'll see
Look,
on that. We'll see on that front. But
he took a flyer on Rodgers with an off year, and he's looked really good so far.
yeah, he might be the CB2, honestly, across
Yeah.
from Darius Slay. We know Darius Slay is the number one spot locked up, but then everything else kind of feels up in the air.
Yeah.
Cornerbacks, at least. I know it's probably going to be Reed and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, man in the safety spot, but
yeah, that's almost a lock. The big battle is, you're right, it's that other corner spot.
And it's Ringo and it's Rodgers. So, like, I mean, I wouldn't hate to see either guy. Keely Ringo did flash in his rookie year.
He had some moments.
Yeah, and like, there's still the whole Cooper DeJean thing as well that they'll have to solve as time goes on. Who knows where he's going to play? I know he's been battling an injury, so he hasn't gotten the valuable time and reps in. So
yeah, right now he's slotted as, I believe, because the battle on the outside has been so tight. I think right now he's slotted as your second nickel. It's just because of the limited amount of time. I don't think that's going to be where he sticks at all.
No, I mean, in an ideal world, you'd have Quinyon Mitchell on one side and Cooper DeJean on the other. I don't know how people feel about that, but
well, I mean, you don't make the move to keep Slay if that's your immediate plan.
Not immediate. You got Cooper DeJean is a chess piece, and that is what people, have to realize. Like, expect him everywhere, but I think he could find a home as an outside cornerback. I truly can.
Me too. I think the other option you're looking at is, I think he could transition to safety pretty well too. In the end, I mean, I like him either way. I think this year Reed Blankenship is going to have to. I love Reed Blankenship. I think he absolutely deserves to walk into the season as the starter. I'm not questioning that a little bit. I think if he's going to put enough distance between himself and Blank and DeJean to make us push DeJean outside, he's got to do it this season. Like, he's got to have a great season, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if DeJean lives up to his pre-draft hype, which was pretty crazy, I'm still astounded that he fell to us. He's going to have a lot of guys sweating.
Oh, yeah, which is good. I mean, hey, look, this is the Super Bowl or bust team. Best guys play. No more.
It's a great problem to have after last season.
Yeah. And look, we haven't even mentioned the guy who's classically been extremely reliable, and a member of the Eagles secondary now for a long, long time. And that's, Avonte Maddox right now is slotted as, a guy who's not going to see the field all too often if he breaks camp with the team, which I also could see him being a captain of the team, cutting them also.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new day for the Eagles cornerback room. Obviously, James Bradbury is. We'll have to talk about him. He might be on the outs as well.
I think he's almost as good as gone. I don't know what his dead money is, if it makes sense to keep him or get rid of him. But I mean, unless there's a financial reason where it's too expensive to drop him, I think his days here are numbered.
Well, it is,
and that was
one.
That's the
price. It's $4 million dead money. It's just his cap number.
No, it's not terrible.
I mean, later down the line, there's some implications because how he loves his void years. But
I know it is what it is. But moving on, if you think Maddox can stay healthy, moving on from Bradbury would let you keep Maddox around most likely, because those right now are slotted as your two backup safeties. I don't really love the idea of having to lean on guys like Sidney Brown, who I know who's hurt at the moment, and then Tristan McCollum, who I don't know the first thing about.
Yeah, I mean, safety depth. I mean, of course, you say we can move Cooper DeJean back there.
Yeah,
like at least there's like a fail-safe plan where if a couple of guys go down back there, I hope they don't. It's like Cooper DeJean is bust like the fire extinguisher in the room, like bust glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, we have to throw DeJean at safety in year one. We've hit the glass.
We could do that. I mean, I wouldn't like it all that much because, like I said, I want him as a corner, but I don't care where he is on the field because if he's on the field, good things are going to happen for the Eagles defense, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I think there's going to come a time where that's true. I think him missing an offseason makes year one tough for that to be the case.
Yeah, it does. But I just think he's so talented, and I don't know why he fell. Obviously we'll never know, but
or we will. Hopefully we don't.
Oh yeah, hopefully we don't. But
I don't want to one day walk back to this conversation and go, I see it now. Yeah, that's probably why he slipped. I don't think that's the case. I think it's one of those weird draft day things that's hard to explain, where so often we're on the wrong side of it, where I think so many people wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, and DeJean was the easy pick. And it's, I want to take DeJean. And I think I'm hoping that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. I text you that night. I'm like, yo, he's my CB2. I hope he's on the Eagles,
Mm-hmm.
And then bam, here we are. We had my CB1 and my CB2. So
yeah, it's a perfect day. Speaking of depth, it's a good camp when really one of the few things that we're genuinely concerned about. I mean, we're talking DBs just for the fun of it, but that starting line in the back feels really good. QB2 has been a huge conversation for the Eagles, which again, what a great place to be. After watching the first two, and then we got game the third game coming up this Saturday against Minnesota, which I guess we'll learn a lot there too. Who do you think is going to break camp as the immediate backup for Jalen?
Look, you watch this, and you can see that Tanner McKee is probably better.
Yeah, he's a better quarterback.
But the coach speak says it's all Kenny Pickett.
Which, I mean, I just don't get. I get that he has probably some valuable NFL starter reps or whatever, but I mean, dude, side by side with pretty much the same weapons, Tanner McKee looks so much more comfortable.
Yeah, it's just the case of the draft capital spent because we didn't spend anything on McKee, and we spent a lot more on Kenny Pickett.
More than the Steelers spent on Justin Fields.
Well, you see how that one's working out.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying we should have gotten. I'm not saying we should have gotten Justin Fields for a billion reasons. God, I mean,
it's more so the contract. That's how he's playing it because it's obvious to see if Kenny Pickett pans out and is a quality backup, which he could be. I don't think he will.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on the record on that one. He's under contract for 2 more seasons. It's very affordable.
Okay. Was there any kind of not a kick? What's the word I'm looking for? Where if he plays X amount, then this pick turns into a this, or is it just straight across?
Swap's already done.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, look, hopefully it doesn't matter. and neither one of them have to play. I do get that Kenny Pickett has led an NFL offense for an extended period of time already, where Tanner McKee doesn't have that experience. So, I mean, that is worth something. There's no ramp up time for Kenny Pickett. Really, he's been there, done that a little bit. I just don't think he's been there, done that at a higher level than Tanner McKee is right now.
Yeah, I mean, you look, it was a classic Howie move. He values the backup quarterback position. You see where Gardner Minshew is now. He's starting for Las Vegas.
I love
Washington,
Gardner.
you have Mariota backing up Jaden Daniels and being a mentor to him. They're both making decent money. Like, you can't pay that for a backup quarterback when you're paying Saquon X amount of dollars, AJ Brown X amount of dollars, you know?
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, I'm not saying we should have kept it. So.
Oh, I'm not. I know you're not implying that. I'm just saying, like, it's tough to manage a backup quarterback position. He made the best move possible, is what I'm trying to get at. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to pan out, it wasn't good. It was still best case scenario kind of deal. I mean, maybe he could have picked Spencer Rattler, but I didn't get to see much of Spencer Rattler during his preseasons. I don't think it was all that great if I didn't, hear about it eventually.
And then again, similarly, like, this is the team that is all in on winning a Super Bowl. So you really don't have in a world where Jalen goes down, there's no downtime. There's no a couple games to get this guy's feet wet. So there is value in having a guy who has already done it and can step right in and take over an NFL offense.
Yeah,
again, not at a high level.
I know. I watched that man overthrow Johnny Wilson, and Johnny Wilson is 6'6".
Yeah, I know. Not at a high level. I'm just saying the moment wouldn't be too big. That's not saying he would play well in it, but it wouldn't be too big. Again, we got to take what we got here. But yeah, the Gardner Minshew was such a great. He got far too much. He was caught in the crossfires of what happened.
He really was.
He caught way too much shit for the way he played. Again, he was a backup quarterback, and he was. I mean, what was that? I know there was a Dallas game where, I know down the stretch he cost us. There was a huge turnover, and that's just the Gardner Minshew experience. He also went toe-to-toe with Dak for quite a while in that game as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I know, but that turnover left.
It was brutal.
Left such a sour taste, and for people in Philly that didn't get to experience Gardner Minshew mania as much as I did, because you watch every game and it's just a wild ride, and you have to expect it. People in Vegas, Gardner Minshew is Las Vegas. You have the high highs, you have the low lows.
But that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, if you look at that performance, if you look at his Eagles tenure in the lens of a starter, it's disappointing. If you look at it through the lens of a backup quarterback who was dealing with a shitstorm on his own team, it's pretty impressive. Like,
he caught too much flack. I'm looking for a screenshot real quick, so
just give me a
second. It's a Gardner Minshew related screenshot.
I'm happy to vamp about Gardner Minshew here for a second, because I think so often what happens is backups come into the game and they're immediately viewed through the same lens that Jalen Hurts is viewed through, and it's completely unfair. If your backup can come in and throw for 300 plus and 2 TDs or 3 TDs, and they have a bonehead interception, that's about what you have to expect, if not maybe a little bit more than you'd expect.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can Google this. It's Gardner Minshew got way too much hate, and he kind of still does for the quality of quarterback he was. I think I have the screenshot.
Yeah, no one takes him as seriously as they should. I mean, and he is kind of a clown on purpose, but he can also really play the position. I would love to still have him on the Eagles. We just couldn't. I mean, someone paid him starter money.
There it is. It was kind of like a clickbait kind of post, but he has better stats than Trevor Lawrence. Like numerical stats than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean that's
that's a whole other can of worms that I'm not getting into.
Yeah, but okay. So we talked about the DB room, a couple battles there. We talked about the QB2. I have this question: is what battles remain? Because as I was thinking about the segment, I was still kicking around the O-line. But with Steen getting hurt, that all but cements Becton as your week 1 starter, which I don't know about you. I didn't have Mekhi Becton starting at guard for the Eagles on my week 1 bingo card. Should I be concerned? Should I feel safe about this? Where's your concern level?
It's middle of the road. I think I've said it before on here. He has all the physical talent in the world. That's why he went top 10 in the NFL draft. That's why he actually, put together a solid string of games. You look at the PFF grade, it was ridiculous. I forget. I wrote it down somewhere. I forget exactly what it is, but he was tops in the league, like pretty close. Like he wasn't like Trent Williams level, that kind of grade, but he was still upper echelon. And, it just didn't work out, the injuries. So, like, that's my main concern because he could, entrench himself as the starter, play really good, and then get hurt. Like, that injury risk is always there. That's why the Jets let him go in the first place, because of that injury risk. And, like I said, talent's there. Injury risk is
new position, too.
New position, but I trust Stoutland with anything at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Kelsey's been around the building more than he probably should be as a retired player. Like, he's probably given him some insight as well, even though it's not the same position as center. He's still probably talking to him,
So you're telling me that if he's healthy, I should feel pretty good about it.
Let's see it in game action first. It is a new position. I'm cautiously optimistic with this one, just like what I am with the actual Eagles team. But like I said, it's not a talent thing. It doesn't feel like it's a health thing.
Yeah, I mean, and he's a physical freak. The only thing that worries me a little bit about his size is, look, you can be enormous on the edges. I mean, Jordan Mailata is gigantic. Jason Peters was he's a house. It is a lot easier to be enormous at the tackle spots. Guard, so much of your job is, getting leverage and getting lower, that being as gigantic as he is, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, I think, especially when it comes time for the tush push, because that is all about leverage and getting low, and he is just a gargantuan person.
We'll have to see how it plays out. Like I said, there could be a million worse possibilities, so I'm currently happy with what we have with him and Steen, Do
you think if Steen was healthy, they would have still been battling it out?
I think they would be. I think it was really close down to the injury.
I thought Steen looked really good. I mean, Becton is so tantalizing again because of the physical attributes, and the talent was off the charts. But there's a safety with Steen that I felt. I was a little more what's the wrong word? Familiar with the position, which helps. But yeah, I thought that would have been one of the last battles to get decided if both of those stay healthy.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. That's the one I was going to bring up as well. Like, it's just we feel so solid about the offensive line for so long, and now there's a little bit of uncertainty, like how he brings in guys for Stoutland to just mold. And he's been successful every step of the way, so I have no reason to doubt him. You got Jason Kelsey, Jordan Mailata, they're both late round picks. Jeff Stoutland should make the Hall of Fame, like coaching, like just off of that. That's absolutely crazy, but
I don't think that's a crazy assertion to make. I mean, he could go down as one of the best O-line coaches to ever do it.
I mean, you have Lane Johnson. Like, I don't think people. We talked about this last time we were on. I don't think people realize how hit and miss that draft was. I think Lane Johnson was like one of the only hits in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean,
the top 10 was not good. I have to go back and look at it. I believe it was 2011, 2013, I think.
Yeah.
It was
but he could have. I mean, Jason Kelsey's a shoo-in, so you figure that he's a Hall of Famer. I think Jason Peters is going to have a real chance. So there's at least two. The trajectory Lane Johnson's on is going to give him a really good chance. So, I mean, there's a really good chance that Stoutland could oversee an offensive line that could finish with 3 to 4 Hall of Famers. I mean, if you're a coach, some of that's got to reflect on your resume too.
So the only players to make the Pro Bowl from the top 10 of the 2013 draft were Lane Johnson himself, Ezekiel Ansah from the Detroit Lions, and Eric Fisher from the Kansas City Chiefs. And correct me if I'm wrong, those two guys didn't last all that long with their teams. I know Ziggy Ansah bounced around a little bit. I think Eric Fisher was the longer tenured of the two.
Yeah, I thought Eric Fisher put together a pretty good career for himself, but I could be wrong. He's not still around.
No, he's definitely not still around. But yeah, and then my favorite from that 2013 class, the top 10, Tavon Austin. Shout out Tavon Austin. He just retired. That highlight tape from West Virginia, man, I have to shout it out here at the end. It's absolutely
yeah, Fisher put together a respectable career. 2 Pro Bowls and a Super Bowl ring.
But that's
a good draft pick.
Yeah, it was a good pick, but 2 players in the top 10 of a draft class, you go down even further, like to 15 or 16.
Yeah. No,
Like that draft, looking back at it, of course, it produced greats like Travis Kelce and whatnot, but early it was ugly.
Yeah, it was a minefield to get through that draft.
I don't think people realize how big of a minefield it was. And you see Landon Dickerson, he's come into his own as now one of the highest paid guards in the league. Like,
yeah, he can draft the line. I mean, that is one of Howie's absolute strengths.
we'll see how Cam Jurgens pans out. That'll be the one. That'll be the one that tells you, like, oh my goodness, he can do it with anybody.
If he's able to replace Jason Kelce as close as one can do it, because there's no replacing Jason Kelce. But if Jurgens comes in this year and we don't skip a beat, I mean, put that statue next to Doug and Nick's.
Pretty much. I mean, I hope he never goes. I know he's gonna have to retire soon, but like,
pay him whatever he wants to stay.
He's been thinking about it. Oh, he's not leaving Philly, but like,
yeah. Even if Nick gets shit canned, that should be whoever comes in next. That should be non-negotiable.
Well, you have a non-negotiable for when Nick came in.
Yes, it was.
It's been a good call. I can't argue against that.
Yeah, you have full stay over the staff, but Stout is here forever. Take the job.
Lifetime contract. He never has to pay for a cheesesteak again.
Wait, am I thinking? That might not have been a Nick stipulation, but it definitely was
when Doug was
no, it was a Kellen Moore stipulation for certain.
Yeah.
Because typically OCs get to put together their offensive staff.
Nah, he probably realized within about 30 seconds of talking to Stout, and then, wow, I'm glad I didn't get to bring him my own line coach.
He's not new to the division. He was in Dallas. He knows what Stout's about.
He's seen it.
Exactly. So, well, we'll see how the season shakes out. Sunday, game 3 for the preseason is typically where if you're going to see anything that resembles a regular season game, it's going to be week 3. So we have that to look forward to, and we can break that down next week. I'm going to go flip on the Thursday night game, and I can't for the life remember who's playing.
I couldn't tell you.
I know it's one on because Amazon Prime told me.
Oh, it was Colts and I got the alert. It was the Colts and someone else. I honestly forget. I can't keep up with preseason, man. I'm still in I'm in the fantasy mode right now. I'm making the final draft preparations. I'm doing the final best ball teams. I care about camp news more than I do preseason games at this point.
You got your work cut out, but I'm just so starved for football that I'm excited to go throw a preseason game on. And that's just where we're at right now.
That's fair, man.
So we will see you all next week for the Passing Report. I'm Brandon. He's Ryan. Peace. I have yet